Yo, what's going on? Welcome into the show. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. This is the San Francisco 49ers Report. My name is Chase Sr. As always, thank you so much for supporting the program. Coming up here on the show, going to open up the floor for a mailbag. You have questions. I have answers. We talk Niners every single day on this channel, so let's do it right now. Spunky Guy leads us off in the leadoff spot with this $2 super chat. The Niners should have gotten a defensive end before the trading was over. And look, you share my thoughts on this. If the Niners didn't make a trade going into the deadline and Mykel Williams was healthy, I would have been fine with it. But Mykel Williams tore his ACL. He's out for the year. And now the Niners edge rusher rotation is one of the worst and one of the thinnest in the National Football League. And I think that there were moves to be made that you could have done if you're San Francisco to improve your football team. And I know a lot of people have said, well, Chase, the Niners wouldn't have done anything this year anyway. Did you think the Niners were going to make it to the playoffs in 2021 when they started 3-5? They made it to the NFC Championship game that year. How about in 2022 when they started 4-4, rallied at the end of the year, they were reinvigorated and re-energized by the Christian McCaffrey trade, and they made it to the NFC Championship game. You get in the dance and anything can happen. And something else that's valuable and under talked about by just making it to the playoffs when you have a young team, when you're resetting, what a terrific job it would be to get to the playoffs during a hybrid rebuild year. But also, how important is it to give your young players playoff experience so that they can feel that pressure, so that they can feel the playoff intensity, speed, and physicality. And I just think the Niners missed the boat. Joseph Ehrenberg, and look, Mike Silver reported, a lot of people inside that Niners building frustrated that the Niners didn't make a move as well. You're one injury away from being in a horrible spot as far as your defensive end situation. Joseph Ehrenberg, I think the Niners lose out and go 6-11. Highly disagree. I think the Niners are still going to make the playoffs. They have started 6-3. And here's the thing about the Niners. Bummed out that they didn't make a trade, right? But with Kyle Shanahan running the offense, Robert Saleh running the defense, with an improved special teams unit led by Brant Boyer, they're going to have an opportunity to win every game. Unfortunately, the margin for error is extremely thin. You will have a game like the Rams game where you beat a playoff opponent, but you had to play pretty much perfectly, and you had to make huge plays and the ball had to bounce your way. There will be games when you can beat up on a bad team, like the New York Giants. But when you are bereft of talent, especially in critical areas like your defensive line and your pass rush, there will also be games where sometimes you just don't have it, and things can snowball like they did against the Houston Texans. So, Joseph, I guarantee you the Niners do not lose out the rest of the way. I always had predicted, I think the Niners reverse that this year and they go 11-6. Maybe it's more like 10-7, but I think they're a playoff caliber team and they'll be competitive for the rest of the year. But making a move for a pass rusher, I think would have made them a more productive pass rushing unit, thus making them a better defense. Words of wisdom, Aztec. Chase, as you pointed out, who cares if Lynch has all the picks next year? They cannot pick for crap. So it's a mixed bag, right? I mean, you look at that 2023 Niners team, they're one of the most talented teams in the history of the NFL that didn't win a Super Bowl. And a lot of players on that team were drafted and developed by the Niners. You look at the team this year, right? A lot of their starters drafted and developed, and there's obviously room for them to get better. They have missed on a lot of first-round picks. They have not hit on a first-rounder since Brandon Ayuk in 2020. Before that, Nick Bosa 2019. Since then, they have not hit on a first-rounder. Now, there were a couple of years where they didn't have a first-round pick due to the Trey Lance trade, but they've missed for sure. A player like Drake Jackson, huge miss. But also in the mid to late rounds, they've hit on a lot of players. Fred Warner, 3rd round. George Kittle, 5th round. Talanoa Hufanga, all-pro, 5th round. Deommodore Lenoir, really good corner, 5th round. So there have been their share of hits and misses, but that's the case with any team. But for everybody saying, like, you got to keep those picks, if you trade for a player, that player is a more proven commodity sometimes than potential draft picks. And the draft isn't a sure thing. I think the Niners should have gone after somebody and made a trade for a player who can help them right now. Nathan, Brandon Scherff retired. He's not playing. Any other offensive linemen out there? So Scherff retired, but look, let's not act like guys haven't come out of retirement to play for teams, especially when they can join a team in a playoff hunt for a stretch run. I mean, John Feliciano had all those knee injuries last year, and he retired, but he even tweeted out at the start of this year, if John Lynch needs an interior offensive lineman, he knows how to call. As far as other offensive linemen, not a lot of good ones left. I'm just trying to think off the top of my... Jedrick Wills is somebody who's available. Cody Whitehair is available, but he's not really that good. So at this point of the year, when we're about to embark on the middle portion of November, just not a lot of good players remaining. Jonathan Lamont, what's good, Brody? We should get Asante Samuel Jr. and add Mo Kamara from the Dolphins practice squad. Your thoughts? I know Krug, friend of the show, really likes Mo Kamara, and that's a player who the Niners could poach off of a practice squad if they added him to the active roster. I'd certainly be intrigued by that. Isaiah Foskey is a player on the Bengals practice squad, a former second-round pick out of Notre Dame. I'd look at a player like that. I know Azeez Ojulari is on the Eagles injured reserve, but if he comes back and they let him go, that's a player you could potentially sign who is 24 and has been a productive pass rusher. As far as Asante Samuel Jr., I'm interested in a player like that because of how he's played, the pedigree, the NFL bloodlines. Obviously, it's a concern when you have a spinal fusion surgery, but he is set to visit the Niners, as we talked about on Wednesday, on Monday. Now, today's 49ers Report, sponsored by our great friends at Omaha Steaks. And if you watch this show, you know that I love eating high-quality meats. I care about nutrition. I care about wellness and fitness. And that's why I love Omaha Steaks, because their quality is unrivaled and unmatched. This has been America's original butcher since 1917. 5 generations of uncompromising quality backed by an unconditional 100% money-back guarantee. A family-owned company with over 100 years of expertise in the meat industry, they carry mouth-watering steaks, burgers, chicken, pork, seafood, plus delectable desserts. And they love Niner fans so much, they have a phenomenal deal for all of you listening and watching the show. Make game day delicious with the official sponsor of Tailgating. Visit omahasteaks.com and get $35 off when you use the promo code 49ers at checkout. Omaha Steaks is the official sponsor of Tailgating. From legendary burgers to mouth-watering steaks, deli-style franks, so much more. You're going to elevate your next game day get-together with America's original butcher. For more than a century, Omaha Steaks has delivered the world's best steak experience. The filet mignons are my favorite. That's what I recommend. Omaha Steaks' legendary flavor is served in stadiums and homes all across the country. Enjoy grass-fed, grain-finished, extra-aged USDA certified tender steaks, juicy burgers, and more game day favorites like wings, deli-style franks, and brats. Plus, if you're into Philly cheesesteaks, you can get those as well. And here's the thing. What's awesome about Omaha Steaks, some of the best steakhouses across America, you're eating Omaha Steaks. So get fired up for fall grilling. Use the code 49ers. I'm going to put this link, I'm going to put this information down in the show notes of today's show. I'm going to attach it to the pinned comment of today's San Francisco 49ers Report. Omaha Steaks, America's original butcher since 1917. We move forward with our mailbag. More questions coming in. Chosen 1494. Why did John Lynch draft Nick Martin in the 3rd round if he's not good enough to play? Niners mailbag fleeced. So too early to say that, right? We saw in the preseason some good with Nick Martin and some bad. The good, the man flies around like a bat out of hell. He will run through a brick wall, and he plays with an unbelievable play speed. He's aggressive. He's physical. He's fearless. You can use him as a blitzer down the seam against the Raiders after he had a sack earlier on in that game. He made a play down the seam in coverage. I think it comes down to the Niners trusting him. Also, last year, he barely played, so he's a little bit rusty. But in 2023, triple-digit tackles, double-digit TFLs, had some sacks, had some pass breakups. He's a little bit smaller. And so I think the Niners want to see him bulk up a little bit, but they can't trust putting him out on the field because he might overrun something and it leads to an explosive play, which we also saw in the preseason. So too early to say that a third-round pick is a bust. Looks like he's a developmental piece, but it is unfortunate. Marquis Siegel, healthy scratch against the Giants after he was your opening day starter. CJ West, healthy scratch the last few weeks. Nick Martin, not seeing the field. It's not ideal. Hey, Chip, I have a twofold question. What about me, John? I'm here too. Just kidding. What about rushing or dropping 7 with those 4 rushing? And why haven't we picked up any of these free agents? Are they asking for too much? I think any of those free agents, John, are desperate to get a job and they want to be on a team and playing. But I think it's from the team standpoint, these players in early November are free agents for a reason. Either they're toward the tail end of their careers, they have injury problems, character concerns, a variety of issues. So there are some good players left who I think could help the Niners, who, like a Justin Simmons, I'm kind of surprised that he is unsigned. He's a 4-time second-team All-Pro. For a player like Asante Samuel Jr., it all comes down to the neck. He just got medically cleared. As far as rushing 4, dropping 7, here's the problem. The Niners haven't been able to generate pressure with their 4, which is why they have to blitz more, which obviously is risky because then you're lacking numbers on that back end. Steven Palomares, hopefully I pronounced that right. He likes the possibility of the Niners signing Isaiah Simmons. Maybe we can convert him into a solid defensive end, plus it's a need. And here's the issue with Simmons. He was a guy coming out of college who was an athletic freak. I mean, when he was at Clemson, he made some wow plays. Chip knows he went to Clemson. 997 relative athletic score, but 6'3", 238. Right now, he would be one of the smallest edge rushers at that size. Now, he ran a 4.39, filthy. 39-inch vertical, ridiculous. 11-foot broad jump, wow. But he's too small to play defensive end, especially in a 4.3. He could play edge in a 3.4, and he's not good enough in coverage to play off-ball linebacker. So he's that classic tweener. Genie Wyatt, who will play center for the Niners? On Sunday, really not sure. I think that Matt Hennessy has done a pretty solid job. You know, I had told everybody this. He was a 3rd-round pick coming out of Temple, and he had played pretty well for Atlanta. He just never really stayed healthy. Didn't make the Eagles roster going into 2024, but they had an awesome offensive line. You've seen him play pretty good football, and I think maybe he's slightly better than Jake Brendel. But Jake Brendel has a chance to play against the Rams coming off that hamstring injury. The Niners absolutely love him like they absolutely love Colton McKivitz. And so when he's healthy, I think the Niners and Kyle Shanahan will start him. Leon Sandcastle, what do you think about poaching Carl Lawson? So let me see here. Carl Lawson. Is he on the practice squad right now for the Ravens? Yes, he is. So that's a player who you could poach. 6'2", 260, fourth round pick back in 2017. You know, a solid player with the Bengals from 2017 to 2020, with the Jets from 2021 to 2023, with the Cowboys last year, all rookie team in 2017. I think he's kind of flatlined from that point. 8.5 sacks as a rookie, 1 in year 2, 5 in year 3, 5.5 in 2020. Didn't play due to injury in 2021. 7 sacks in 2022. No sacks in 6 games last year. Didn't play in 2024. Now on a practice squad. If it got to a point where you're that desperate, maybe you do that. But I'd almost rather go after a young player. A Mo Kamara, an Isaiah Foskey, and Antoine Powell-Ryland on the Eagles, who was a 6th-round pick back in April. I'd rather go with a younger player who maybe you can build and mold. W. Cham, the Niners are punching way above their weight. I wouldn't be surprised if they win the NFC West. It's certainly possible. I do think the Seahawks are better, and right now they are playing scary good football. The defense is a top 5 unit, and their offense over the last few weeks especially has really gotten it going. They've looked explosive. The trade for Rashid Shaheed, one of the more underrated, under-talked about moves that any team made at the deadline. That guy is on pace for more than 1,000 yards, and he is a speedster and a burner who could take the top off of the defense. Kubiak's in his bag calling plays. Sam Darnold's been balling. Jackson Smith and Jigba leads the NFL in receiving yards. Torrey Horton, late-round pick, he's been cooking. So the Seahawks are really good. Rams are really good. It's going to come down to the matchups inside this division. The Niners still have to play the back end of their divisional games. They're 3-0 in the NFC West, but games coming up against the Rams, Cardinals, final week against Seattle. Words of wisdom, $2. Only reason to watch the Niners, Chase's watch parties. Plus the shows that we do every single day, because the content does not stop. Who you got? Appreciate that, words. LAR for the Rams. SF for the 49ers. Get your predictions in for Sunday's game. As always, thank you so much for watching the mailbag. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll catch you soon.